Welcome to BeFM Drama, where we recreate great works of English literature as gripping radio drama for our Busan audience. I'm Joshua Cornwell, the host of this program, and today we're bringing you part 3 of our 5-part adaptation of The Red-Headed League by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, a classic Sherlock Holmes mystery. In this episode, a humble London pawnbroker with a blazing head of red hair has just finished telling his story of the Red-Headed League, a mysterious organization established for the benefit of redheads that offered him £4 a week to sit in an office and copy pages of an encyclopedia. Mr. Wilson's story ended with the revelation that the Red-Headed League has apparently shut down without warning, leaving him without a job and with a deep sense of confusion, and leaving Holmes and Watson with an overwhelming feeling of amusement. Holmes and I laughed until our sides ached at the notice board Wilson had brought with him announcing the closure of the league. As we laughed, our client flushed to the roots of his blazing red hair.
I cannot see that there is anything very funny. If you can do nothing better than laugh at me, I can go somewhere else.
Holmes settled back into the chair he had half risen from in his laughter and waved one hand apologetically at the pawnbroker as he struggled for breath.
No, I really wouldn't miss your case for the world. It is most refreshingly unusual. But there is, if you will excuse my saying so, something just a little bit funny about it. Pray tell me, what did you do when you found that notice on the office door?
I was staggered, sir. I did not know what to do. I asked people at the neighboring offices, but none of them seemed to know anything about the league. Finally, I went to the landlord and asked if he could tell me what had become of the Red-Headed League. He had never heard of it. Then I asked him about Mr. Duncan Ross. He had never heard of him either. He told me that the office was rented to a man named William Morris, a solicitor using the room as a temporary convenience. He said this Morris had given him a forwarding address of 17 King Edward Street. But when I went over there, I found a medical workshop manufacturing artificial kneecaps, and no one in it had ever heard of either Mr. William Morris or Mr. Duncan Ross.
And what did you do then?
I went back to my shop and home at Saxe-Coburg Square and took the advice of my assistant Spaulding, but he could not help me. He said I should wait to see if the league would contact me by mail. But that's not good enough, Mr. Holmes. I don't wish to lose such a good position without a fight. And since I heard you are a good man who gives advice to poor folk who are in need of help, I came to see you straight away.
And you did wisely. Your case is exceedingly remarkable, and I shall be happy to investigate. From what you've told me, I think it's possible that more serious issues hang from it than might first appear.
Serious enough. Why? I've lost £4 a week.
As far as you are personally concerned, I do not see that you have any cause for hostility toward this extraordinary league. On the contrary, you are, I understand, richer by some £30, to say nothing of the intimate knowledge you have gained on every subject beginning with the letter A.
But I want to find out about them, who they are, and what their game was in playing this prank, if it was a prank, upon me. It's been a pretty expensive joke for them. It cost them £32.
We shall try to clear up these points for you. At first, 1 or 2 questions, Mr. Wilson. This assistant of yours who first called your attention to the advertisement, how long had he been with you?
About a month, then.
How did he come?
In answer to an advertisement.
Was he the only applicant?
No, I had a dozen.
Why did you pick him?
Because he was handy and would come cheap.
At half wages, in fact.
Yes.
What is he like, this Vincent Spaulding?
Small, muscular, very quick in his ways. No hair on his face, though he can't be younger than 30. He has a white acid splash on his forehead.
Holmes sat up in his chair in considerable excitement.
I thought as much. Have you ever seen if his ears are pierced for earrings?
Yes, sir. He told me that he had done it when he was a lad.
He's still with you?
Oh, yes, sir. I have only just left him.
And has your business been attended to in your absence?
Nothing to complain of, sir. There's never very much to do of a morning.
That will do, Mr. Wilson. I shall be happy to give you some answers in the course of a day or so. Today is Saturday, and I hope that by Monday I'll have come to a conclusion.
Our client stood up to leave, and Holmes silently sat in his chair until he heard the front door downstairs close behind Mr. Wilson before he turned his eyes to me.
Well, Watson, what do you make of it all?
I make nothing of it. It is a most mysterious business.
As a rule, the more bizarre a thing is, the less mysterious it proves to be. It is the commonplace, featureless crimes that are really puzzling. Just as a common face is the most difficult to identify. But I must be quick in this matter.
What are you going to do, then?
To smoke. It's a 3-pipe problem. Don't speak to me for 50 minutes.
He curled himself up in his chair, with his knees drawn up to his hawk-like nose, and sat with his eyes closed, his black pipe thrusting out like the bill of some strange bird. I thought he had fallen asleep, and was dozing off myself, when suddenly he sprang out of his chair with the expression of a man who has made up his mind, making me flinch in surprise.
Sarasate is playing at the St. James Hall this afternoon. What do you think, Watson? Could your patient spare you for a few hours?
I have absolutely nothing to do.
Then put your hat on. I'm going through the city first, and we can have some lunch on the way. I see there's a good deal of German music on the program, which is more to my taste than Italian or French. It is introspective, and I want to introspect. Come along.
We traveled by the underground to Aldersgate, and a short walk brought us to Saxe-Coburg Square, where Mr. Wilson had his pawnbrokers. It was a sad, shabby, genteel place, where 4 lines of dingy, 2-storied houses looked out on a small fenced enclosure, where a lawn of weedy grass and a few clumps of faded laurel bushes made a hard fight against the smoky and unhealthy atmosphere. A sign reading, Jabez Wilson, in white letters on a corner house, showed the place where our red-headed client carried on his business. Sherlock Holmes stopped in front of it and looked it all over with his eyes shining brightly. Then he walked slowly up the street and back again to the corner, still looking at the houses. Finally, he thumped vigorously on the pavement with his stick a few times, then went up to the door and knocked. It was instantly opened by a bright-looking, clean-shaven young fellow. This was clearly Spaulding, Mr. Wilson's assistant.
Thank you. I only wish to ask how you would get from here to the Strand?
3rd right, 4th left.
The man shut the door in my friend's face, and Holmes bounded back down the steps with a bright smile. We walked away from the store together.
Smart fellow, that. He is, in my judgment, the 4th smartest man in London. And for daring, he may be the 3rd. I have known something of him before.
Evidently, Mr. Wilson's assistant counts for a good deal in this mystery of the Red-Headed League. I am sure you asked for directions just to get a good look at him.
Not him.
What then?
The knees of his trousers.
And what did you see?
What I expected to see.
But why did you beat the pavement?
My dear doctor, this is a time for observation, not talk. We are spies in enemy territory. We now know something of Saxe-Coburg Square. Let us now explore the area just behind it.
The road we found ourselves in as we turned the corner from Saxe-Coburg Square presented as great a contrast as the front of a picture to the back. It was one of the main roads bringing traffic into the city from the northwest. The road was jammed with a huge stream of commerce flowing in both directions, while the sidewalks were black with rushing swarms of pedestrians. It was hard to believe as we looked at the line of grand shops and stately businesses that they really backed on to the depressed, stagnant little square we had just left behind.
Let me see. I should like to remember the order of houses here. It is a hobby of mine to have an exact knowledge of London. There's Mortimer's, the tobacconist, the newspaper shop, the Coburg branch of the City and Suburban Bank, the vegetarian restaurant, and McFarlane's carriage building depot. That takes us right up to the next block. Now, Doctor, we've done our work, and it is time we had some play. A sandwich and a cup of coffee, and then off to Violin Land, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony, and there are no red-headed clients to vex us with their problems.
My friend was an enthusiastic musician and a very capable performer, not to mention a composer of no ordinary merit. All afternoon, he sat in the stalls wrapped in the most perfect happiness, gently waving his long, thin fingers in time to the music, while his smiling face and his lazy, dreamy eyes were as unlike those of Holmes the sleuth-hound, Holmes the relentless, keen-witted, ready-handed criminal detective, as it was possible to imagine. The swing of his nature took him from extreme laziness to devouring energy, and I knew well he was never truly so formidable as when he had been lounging in his armchair for days on end. For it was in those moments that the lust for the chase would suddenly overcome him, and his brilliant reasoning power rose to the level of intuition, and those unfamiliar with his methods might look at him as a man not exactly like other mortals. When I saw him that afternoon so enraptured by the music in St. James Hall, I knew an evil time was coming for those he had set it upon himself to hunt down. With that, we've come to the end of Part 3 in our adaptation of The Red-Headed League here on BeFM Drama. Join us again tomorrow evening as we delve into the exciting 4th episode in our 5-part presentation of this story.